So that brings me to my favorite part of the evening, which is where I get to sit back, relax, and learn a whole lot of stuff. And that is our expert speaker, who tonight happens to be Andrew Carter. So let me give you a bit of an intro to Andrew. He is, and you may be able to tell by his posture at the moment, he is in fact an airline pilot. So he trained in aviation. He's a professional pilot. He is an entrepreneur. He's an author, business mentor. He's a philanthropist. He's a public speaker, and he is the CEO of the award-winning global publishing group. If you've never heard of them before, if you've heard of the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, this is the company that made that book and that author famous. So, so they've got some good credentials behind them. So Andrew's run 3 highly successful businesses, and he has founded 2 not-for-profit organizations. So he has been a busy lad. And he really is a leader that's been acknowledged for his strategic and marketing intellect, and he's a recognized authority on aviation, leadership, decision-making, and business turnaround. So he's worked with businesses with their turnaround. So after starting his first business, Andrew did start teaching his business success principles to other business owners. And he did that through his books and through personal mentoring. And the improvements that he helped those business owners make was literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, which was added to their bottom line profits every year. But check this out. Not only has he done that there, he's also got a feather in his cap of creating the most unique aviation museum in the country, and that's attracted visitors from around the world. So just that there alone, I haven't even heard of it. So I'd like to go and visit it and find out what it's all about. But he's got a unique set of strategies and systems, and he works in the publishing industry. He's a marketer, and he really uses all that to help business owners with their wealth creation and their businesses, really to empower them to improve their businesses, to improve their lives. And he uses his workshops to educate and to inspire others. So I'd love you to put your hands together and give a big, warm, virtual round of applause for Andrew Carter.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, everyone. Yes, May Rose, that was very good. Thanks so much. Just to correct you, mate, that you're quite right, but as far as John Gray goes, that in Australia, he was established elsewhere. We did that for him in Australia. But thank you, and thanks again for that warm welcome. Look, I am here to show you the #1 single best lead generation tool for your business, bar none. And that will have you stand out so completely and transform your business and create massive growth in it, more than any other strategy out there. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in or what business you're in. It doesn't matter if it's service or goods or industry or purely just an online business. I mean, even if you're just an online influencer, this will work for you. And it is the single most important strategy you can implement in your business. Now, I know that sounds like a big claim, and I'm sure you've heard others make similar claims before, but about other products. But as you're going to find out over this webinar, this is true. And look, as Nick just said, I've had extensive business background before doing what I do now, and I can state categorically that out of all the strategies as a marketer, all the things I've learned and shared, all the businesses I've helped as a coach, all the things I've seen with all the businesses I've grown, this is undoubtedly the #1 strategy that works better than anything else. And that's why I'm so excited to be sharing this with you tonight. So just to let you know, there is no big sales pitch at the end of this, but I am going to mention an event I'm running for next year for those who want to know more. And I am going to be covering a lot of incredible content here, but I've got to move through it quickly because of the time limit we're against. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and I'll answer them in detail at the end. So let me just share my screen here. Get that started. All right, authority and influencer marketing made simple. Now, this tool and strategy that I'm going to be talking about is very well used and proven by all of the greats, people like Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, Robert Kiyosaki, and many of the big names in business you know, but it is now being used by thousands of business owners just like you. It works for them, and I'll even cover some examples in this tutorial so you can see that it'll work for you also. So what is it that made these guys the go-to expert or authority in your eyes? Well, to be seen as the authority, first they had to become an author. Now, please stay with me. Don't leave the webinar now just because you think that's way too hard or take way too long, or it can't be done in your business, especially if you're online. Look, I assure you this can be done quickly and simply, even if you can't type or write. And it is the single greatest strategy to gain people's attention, build trust and credibility, and drive them to your website. And I'm going to explain all of that for you during this webinar. So I want to cover here now why a book is so powerful for you and your business. And it all has to do with people's perception. You see, the perception in society is that people have to become experts to then be able to write a book. But that's just not the case. All the experts I dealt with wrote the book first based on what they already knew, were then perceived as an expert for being an author, and they attracted a huge following as a result of that. And then they created the products and services they sell. Now, you need to establish yourself as an expert in your industry. You need to be able to stand out. And to do that, you've got to be seen as the authority. When people perceive you as a go-to authority or expert in a certain field, they actively pursue you to purchase your products, services, and advice, and in fact will pay more for it. And you know this to be true. You know you've done this yourself. Now, to sell your products and services, there's really only two things you need to do. And the first is to gain attention, which we all know is getting harder and harder these days. You have to gain people's attention to let them know what you're selling, because far too many people think that just by setting up a website or placing an ad or posting on social media or YouTube, that you're going to capture people's attention and make lots of sales. Now, a long time ago, you probably could. However, both the online and offline market is saturated. So when you do any of those things today, you become just another Me Too business, another one of millions all doing the same thing. You need to do something that will really make you stand out from the crowd, something that's going to attract people's attention. And then once you've attracted the attention of the ideal client, you then need to build trust, because people are reluctant to purchase goods or services because of a lack of trust. I mean, all of us have been burnt before, and we don't wish to be so again. So trust becomes the single biggest barrier to making a sale after you've gained a prospect's attention. People like to buy from people they trust, and building that trust usually takes a very long time. And those of you who are using sales funnel, you know that it usually requires you giving the potential customer something of value for free. And then they say, as a rule of thumb, 7 touch points. You've got to be in touch with them 7 times before you're trusted enough for them to purchase something from you. Now, a book does away with all of that. A book is the #1 builder of trust and credibility. There just simply is nothing else like it. Why? Because being an author ranks in the top 10% of professions in terms of prestige. When you're an author, you are highly respected. It is automatically assumed that you are an expert in your field. You don't need to state that you're an expert or that you are credible. The book will do that for you. The book actually acts as a third-party independent advocate of you and your business. Now, what this all does, we're talking about here is perception. We're talking about establishing the perception in your customers' minds. So you're positioning yourself as #1 in your customers' mind. That's the big deal. A lot of people say to me, oh, well, I'm not the expert. Well, maybe not the expert, but you're an expert. But most importantly, you're an expert in your customer's mind. We're going to talk more about that shortly. So over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to cover the 7-step process, which will easily allow you to create the content for your best-selling book in just a few hours. Most people are dumbfounded by that. They all think you've got to lock yourself away in a cabin for 6 months at a time and to create some manuscript. I'll show you how to do it in under half a day. Make money from your book before you've even completed it. This is the beauty of entrepreneurial publishing. It's not something that's ever been understood much before. I'm going to cover it in some detail tonight. How to generate massive amounts of free PR, including getting celebrity endorsements. How to use that to leverage your time and grow your brand, leaving your competition completely irrelevant. Create a list of hot buyers, ones who are already predisposed to buy from you. Build additional income streams that are available to you just by creating this, and of course, becoming a best-selling author. Now, all of this relates to an actual physical book, a printed book, one that you would find on the bookshelves in a bookstore or at the airport or something like that, okay? I'm not talking about an ebook. You can't gain any real credibility with an ebook, and you won't be noticed. And if you want to argue the point, just think of yourself. If you've ever watched any nighttime or daytime host show where they're introducing guests, They have never, ever said, and here's our next guest, the author of an ebook, have they? It's always the author of such and such book, and they hold the book up to the camera. That's what's required. If you're trying to build trust and credibility and get that attention, it has to be a physical book. Regardless of what business you're in, you need a physical book to create your credibility and create personal brand awareness, which will grab attention, position you as the expert, and you use that to drive traffic to your online site. Now, the benefits of being an author is that when someone reads your book, you have their complete attention for a couple of hours. I understand maybe not all at once. Perhaps they put the book down to, answer the phone or get a cup of coffee. But if they finish your book, you have effectively had one-on-one time with that person, building trust and credibility over a number of hours and positioning yourself as the authority or go-to expert. And you've done all that without ever leaving the house. You've done it without ever having to pick up a phone and cold call anyone. This is the ultimate form of leveraging your time. So your book builds trust and credibility. It positions you as the expert. It leverages your time, and it gains access to clients you may not have otherwise been able to reach. And I'm going to talk about that in detail later. But first, I've got to bust some of the myths, because there's a lot of myths around writing a book and how that can come about and what it can do for you. And some of those are good because it's perceived as being difficult. So that's why if you do one, people think that you've accomplished so much. But some of the myths are just silly. So let's clear just the air with some of those now. I haven't got time to go through all of them. But of course, the first myth is that it takes a long time to write a book. That's not true. So I want you to think about what information you want to give the reader of your book. Remember, we're talking about a how-to book here, a how-to-help type book. Who is your target audience? What sort of clients are you trying to attract? Who is your perfect client? Once you know that, you know what story you want to tell them and what action you want them to take, which is to drive them to your website and sell them other products or services. So the thing we've got to do is, you know how you want to start a book, and you should know now what the end of the book is once you know who your ideal client is. And then all I simply need you to do is come up with a logical bridge between the start and the end. There's going to be certain things that need to be covered to make that journey a logical one, and they become chapter headings. So all I want you to do is write down each of those chapter headings. And when you've done that, I want you to put bullet points under each of those. What are the points you need to talk about in that chapter to complete that chapter? Now, the normal question at this stage is, how many chapters does a book need to be? And the answer is as many as it takes. You can do it in 4 chapters, do it in 4. You need 20, take 20. The point is, come up with that logical structure. Now, it's really simple. Pick up your smartphone or your tablet or your computer, just hit record, and I want you to read out that chapter heading. And then I want you to start talking to each of the points under it. Do that with each of the chapter headings, and you've effectively finished the content of your book. Here's the magic point, and if anyone is taking notes, this is the one point you do want to write down. Do not exceed 150 pages in your book. Now, that works out to about 30,000 typewritten words, okay? Here's the reason why. We know, following the trend for the last 15 years, that it's progressively been getting less and less and less. If your book's more than 180 pages, fewer people are actually going to buy it. That's just the statistical fact. If it's more than 150 pages, fewer people will actually finish reading it. And of course, you want people to finish reading your book, because only then are they likely to take action or recommend you to others or pass their copy on to other people. So 150 pages is the magic number, which, as I say, works out to 30,000 words. Now, given the normal rate of speech, which is about 180 words per minute, which is probably a bit slower than I'm talking right now, you can say 30,000 words in 2 hours and 47 minutes. So doing that formula we've just spoke about, in under 3 hours, you could complete the entire content for your book. And of course, then you just use an audio to text transcription app, or you may not even have recorded it. You may have just done it through something like audit.ai. And as you've been talking the whole time, it will have transcribed this for you. It will have produced that 30,000 words. If you haven't done it that way, if you want to do it old school, you record it, and then you get onto one of the freelance sites, fiverr.com, freelancer.com, Upworks, or guru.com, and you can upload the audio file and have someone transcribe it for you. I don't recommend that so much anymore because they're probably just using otter.ai anyway. So save yourself that step. Now, it may sound way too simple to produce a book in that way, but here's Ian Marsh, which some of you, I'm sure many of you are probably aware of. He's well known for street smart marketing, but prior to that, he initially started off as an air conditioning repairman, okay? And he was struggling. He was really struggling in business and was going under. And he learnt this formula and he produced his first book. And his first book positioned him as the expert, which meant people came to him. He then started to attract a lot more business. He was able to charge more as a result, and he turned his business around and he was able to sell it off for top dollar. He then went into business coaching, and so he wanted to complete a book that would attract high-end clients and he could sell them into a high-ticket item. So he came up with the inconvenient truth about business success, and using that formula I've just shown you, he completed the content for that book in just half a day. And the picture before I showed you with the woman with the dictaphone. Why does anyone use a dictaphone? Well, 12, 13, 14 years ago, that's all we had. Phones weren't up to the job. I did my first book using a dictaphone. Certainly, Ian did his with the dictaphone, sent it away, got the transcription back, read over it to just make sure there was no problems. And you'd have to do that even if you're using Otter AI, which is very good, but can let you down on occasions. Just read through it, send it off to a publisher. And that book, which he never typed or wrote, which was done in under half a day, he knows exactly how many clients he's got as a result of that and what he sold them into. And he tells me that book has produced almost $600,000 for him. So can you create a book in just a few hours without having to write or type? Yes, you can. Myth busted. Another myth is you need to have a university education and degree to be taken seriously as an author. No. And if you do have a university education, please do not write in that style. No one wants to read that crap. It's difficult. It's hard for all of us. It's full of jargon and annotations and notes. No one's interested. You want to keep this simple, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now, again, Nick brought it up before. There's Dr. John Gray. You all know of his book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. But if you look at the end of his name, he's got a PhD. So he must have a university education, which has just dispelled my whole story. No, not at all. He didn't have one when he wrote the book. And in fact, he turned the manuscript into his thesis, which is what gave him his PhD. So he turned it on its head. You have to create your book yourself to have your name on it, is another big myth. Well, no. Think about all of the major leaders out there, presidents and prime ministers. Do you think they really have the time to write their book or even just dictate it? Of course not. Think of some of the movie stars you've seen. Like, thank God they have a movie script, because most of them aren't articulate. You know, they'd be struggling without something to read from. They really have too much trouble. Same for NRL stars. Some of them are struggling to put more than 2 sentences together. I mean, that's when they're talking. Do you really think that they could actually physically type a book? No. So what these people have all done is they've hired a ghostwriter. Okay, the ghostwriter is a professional writer who's going to interview you, get an idea about your style, the way you talk, what you want the book to do, the turn of phrase you use, your sense of humor, and they will actually write a book in your style. Okay, now the beauty is once it's finished, only your name will appear on it as the author. The ghostwriter's name does not appear on it at all. Now, some people think that that's cheating, but I can assure you, if you read enough world leader autobiographies or those of major movie stars or athletes, I guarantee you've read at least one ghostwritten book and weren't any wiser and were still given all the information you need. So very popular way of doing it. If you're self-publishing, the biggest concern most people have is that you'll be left with a garage full of books. And I understand that, because to get the price per book way down, you need to order in large quantity. And self-published books are virtually impossible to get into bookstores, and so you can be left with a garage or a shed full of books like this. This is one of our authors. This is Sharon. She has a big smile on her face because she's not at all concerned about all those books being there. They're already pre-sold. And that's what we do. We teach how that this can be avoided by proper marketing of your book before, during, and after it is published, and this is not an issue. Now, we routinely can pre-sell 5,000, 10,000. I'm going to show you an example here where we actually had pre-sold 22,000 books before they'd even been published. And so that's how you get around that issue. books don't make any money. Well, this is certainly true if you're using a traditional publisher. You get a very small percentage of the cover price of the book, 3 to 5%, and they dictate what the cover price of the book will be. Now, I'm going to talk more about the types of publishing at the end of this, but the point to know is if you go through an entrepreneurial publisher, that allows you to make large amounts of money before your book is even published and a lot more once it is. And just one of the tips we do for that is sell advertising in the book. Now, of course, we don't call it advertising because bookstores and distributors don't like that sort of gross commercialization. But remember, I'm talking about a 150-page book, and I'm talking about trying to give your clients value. There's a limit to how much information you can put in 150 pages, so you owe it to them to give them extra resources. So what you can do is approach complementary businesses and say that you've got their perfect target market and you will be selling this book. It's going to be a bestseller and they could advertise in it. Now, because the shelf life of a book's about 5 years, which is many, many more times than the 1, 2, or 3 months that a magazine would be out for, you can charge a lot more for advertising space, routinely about $10,000 to $16,000 per page. And that's exactly what one of our best-selling authors did, How to Grow Your Business Faster Than Your Competition. Sharon sold a whole lot of spots in there for $9,997. And so even after all of the expenses, which were what they were, she still cleared well over $40,000 before the book was even published. But I want to take it even one step further. I want to show you that extreme example of what can be done. This is Top Franchise CEO Secrets Revealed. And what's great about this is the author was not a top franchise CEO himself, and he was introducing a brand new franchise to Australia, which, as you could imagine, would really be pushing it up the proverbial hill with a small toothpick if you weren't smart about it. So what he did is he went and interviewed 14 top franchise CEOs from well-known brands, and he positioned himself and his brand in the middle of that. So if you're reading this book, knowing it's all about top franchise CEOs, and you came across his name or the name of his franchise that you weren't aware of, but it's sandwiched in between Brumbies and Boost Juice and say Clark Rubber and Leonard's Poultry, then by association, even though you haven't heard of him, he must have the same credibility as those. It's what we call the halo effect, and it's a very successful model. Now, a lot can happen here. And so what happened is he approached each of those franchises and said, look, if you want to have your franchise included in the book to get you a lot more exposure and which will allow you to sell more franchises, why don't you do this interview with me? We'll do it on Zoom. We'll cover it. We'll use approved pictures. It'll be a nice layout and you'll get all this coverage. And he had some requirements, which I'm going to talk about. But the beauty of doing this is he's now got all of their franchisees to pre-purchase copies of the books from him and help distribute the book. Because what he said is, look, all I want you to do is pre-purchase 1,000 copies of the book. Help me make this a bestseller, which is going to get us a lot of media, a lot of PR, a lot of attention, which is then going to help sell more books when it actually hits the bookstores. And so for them to buy 1,000 books at a discounted price, he said $9.95, so about a third of the price. That's cheap advertising. For under 10 grand, for companies like this, $10,000 is nothing. And to end up with something for it, like 1,000 books, which they could then go on and sell themselves, in which case they'd make all their money back plus $20,000 profit, or they could hand them out at trade shows and to other events like that, which would be good third-party independent advertising for them. Or personally, I would hand them on to my franchisees and let the franchisees sell them through their store and make additional income. But there's a whole lot that could be done. So using that model, this guy who sold a book for $29.95, he got 14 contributors, all willing to buy 1,000 books each at $9.95. So that produced over $139,000. He then went and approached 15 different advertisers and said, look, this is what we're doing. You could advertise your place in this book. All I ask is that you buy 500 books at half price, $14.95. Again, a brilliant concept, because those people can then go on and sell those books at full retail price, in which case they make all of their money back, plus that much again as profit. Or again, they could hand them out to potential customers as some form of credibility builder for them and their brand, an endorsement, if you like, of their company. So 15 advertisers bought 500 books each at $14.95, producing another $112,000. So for those of you doing the maths, in just 2 weeks, This guy's created a total in revenue of over $250,000. Now, of course, you have to remove the price of the books or the production of the book cost from it, which ended up at $107,500, which gives you a total in profits of almost $144,000 in 2 weeks for a product that hasn't even been produced yet. Most businesses will go through an entire year and not be able to produce $144,000 profit, let alone do it in 2 weeks. Now, from my point of view, what's even better is 21,500 books have already been pre-sold. That makes it an instant bestseller. Now, obviously, what's the beauty of a bestseller? Well, by definition, it is a book that sells well, and that's what the bookstores want. So we can create a whole lot of media and PR excitement and generate that beforehand. We can get the distributors and the bookstores excited beforehand. And then what that means is on the day it's actually released in bookstores, there's already a whole lot of hype around it, and it sells a lot more in those initial months because of it. Always a good thing to achieve. Now, people approach me afterwards and say, well, that's unrealistic. That's not sustainable. That's a one-off. It's a fluke. It's not. This same guy has done the same thing 4 different times in 4 different industries and generated a similar result each time. I can take it even one stage further. We had another one of our authors who, after seeing that, approached us and said, well, why can't I do that? Well, you can. There's absolutely nothing stopping you from doing exactly the same model in your home country. So he went back to New Zealand, did exactly the same thing I've just described to you, and he came up with New Zealand Top Franchise Leaders Secrets Revealed. I mean, even the layout is the same. The inside of the covers is exactly the same. The layout of the book inside is all the same. He just copied the model exactly. And in the first 2 weeks, he generated $120,000. Of course, it's just gone on to do a lot more since then. So you could do this in any industry. There's nothing to stop you from doing this in health or anything to do online. In any particular industry or hobby, you can recreate this model. And each time you're going to end up being the #1 best-selling book. I want to talk quickly about the game behind the game. I'm going to use Conrad Bobulak as an example here. I haven't got time to go into the game behind the game. It's something we cover in depth at our workshops. But this guy attended the 3-day workshop, and at the time, he didn't have any business. And when I say that, he didn't have a business name. He didn't have a business idea. He had no clients, no premises, nothing. He was working for the National Australia Bank at the time. He comes to the workshop, and once he gets his head around the game behind the game and gets excited by its potential, he starts to craft a business and then a book around that, which became a bestseller. He then went on and created a website and a YouTube channel around that book, designed to attract his ideal client. In fact, the website's actually designed to repel those who aren't his ideal client. So he's not wasting on people. As he says, he attracts prospects, not rejects. And I think that's quite important. With the book, he has quite literally created a company from nothing, which is now paying him $1 million a year. And he'd never earned anything like that before. The book gives him access to people he would otherwise never reached. Now, I want to talk about the credibility building of this book, because what happens is this book is available in newsagents and bookstores, and even when you go into airports, you can buy it on the shelves there. People are buying this in New York, flying all the way to London, getting off the plane after having read the book, picking up the phone and doing multi-million-dollar deals with this guy who they've never, ever met before. But because the book has positioned him as the expert and has built that trust and credibility, it's destroyed any of those barriers. He has no problems doing those sorts of deals. He has surgeons and people like that who are on holiday in Spain who are reading his book. When they get back to Australia, they go, oh, listen, I was on holidays, just finished reading your book. I want to do deals with you. That is the true success of the book. These are people he could never have otherwise reached who are now chasing him down. Now, why the book is so important is because it becomes the linchpin for so much of your business. For his, it is the entire business has been built around the book. But so many times we come across people who are struggling to take their business to the next level, or don't know how to get their business really taking off or get started in some cases. The one point they're missing is a book. And Conrad's really proof of that, because he gave his entire system to 2 of his mates in the same industry. He's got so much work, he's not concerned about the competition. So he gave them everything, step 1 through to 20. This is what you've got to do. This is how you do it. These are the people who create the content for me. These are the lawyers I used. He did all the introductions. He did everything. Now, he earns $1 million a year from this strategy, and his mates make zero because his mates did from step 2 to step 20. They missed step 1. What was step 1? The book. They couldn't see the point of having a book. They thought doing a book was too much trouble for too little effort. He was trying to explain to them the book is everything. The book is the first step of the stepping stone. Without a book, you're not going to succeed. And there's the real evidence right there. Right, back-end products, most of you got stuff like this, but it's very easy to create other products from the content of your book and sell them to people who have read your book and want more from you. And this is what happens. People don't want to stop with just having read your book. Once they've built that trust and credibility, they want to get more from you. So look at the Tony Robbins Ascension model or value ladder, whatever you want to call it. He sells a book, gets lots of people interested. From that, a large percentage of them will go on and buy one of his courses. You get very excited by the course, and there's probably free tickets in there for the event. So you'll go on and go to one of his events. From there, you may go on to a boot camp or a workshop. And obviously, very, very few people go into the high-end coaching. So of all of the millions of people that read the book, only about 100 end up into the high-end coaching. But at $85,000 per person, you don't need too many people there to make it worth your while. So the point of that ascension ladder is you're not making money from the book, you're making money from the back end of the book. And so you're getting people in the funnel and they become interested in you. Fewer and fewer people step up each step of that ladder, but you're increasing the cost at each stage and you're making a lot more money as a result. So how does that apply to you? Well, you should have your book. Your book is the number one key to your business. And I've got there, you can sell it for $0 because if you know who your ideal client is and you know what the value of the back end is, I'd give books away. I'd happily give books, and so would Conrad. Conrad's happy for, if he's doing $1 million deals, he doesn't care if he was giving books away all day if it's attracting the right client. And you can take content out of your book and you can make your own course. If you're doing Zoom interviews with people, you've got a video product. Lift the audio off that, you've now got an audio product. Have that transcribed, you've got a written product. Do a workbook around that, and you've now got an entire course package. Alternatively, if you've done 12 or 13 chapter book, you can pull those chapters apart and fill them out a bit, put a bit more content in there, and each of those could be broken down into weekly e-classes, and you've now got a year's worth of e-classes, which you could sell for $47 to $97 a month. From that, you can sell people up into an event. Now, events are a fair bit of work and it can be quite expensive, but if those people wanting more information from you will quite happily pay it. And then you too could go on to provide group coaching or even one-on-one and up to $30,000 a year. And a lot of people want to argue that. They don't feel like they're worth it. If you are the author of a book, you are the expert. You are the go-to authority. There are people who are going to want to get more information from you. You may not feel like the expert, but in their people's mind, you are an expert. You know more than they do, and they want to improve their lot, and they're interested in your message, and they're prepared to pay you for it. One way to think of it, $30,000 a year, that's only $2,500 a month if you break it down like that, and they make it a bit easier to comprehend. Remember, I'm only talking about producing a 150-page book. There's a limit to how much you can fit into 150 pages. So for those wanting extra information, you have that listed on your website and you use that to drive people to your website actively at every stage. If you've got graphs or pictures, they don't look too good if they're small and in black and white. So you can have them in your book, but refer people back to your website where they can find big color versions of it. If you've got any sort of difficult or esoteric type concept you want to talk about, make a video of it, because a picture may tell 1,000 words, but a video explains everything. And of course, this is all in the members area. So people have to sign in to get this, and that way you've captured their details. You've created a list of people who've already read your book. So you've already positioned yourself as the expert in their mind, and you've built that trust and credibility. And this is how you're creating a list of hot buyers, people who are predisposed to buy from you and want more from you. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're an online business or an offline business, your book will make you stand out. It will gain massive credibility and it will grow your business exponentially, whilst the entire time leaving you so far out ahead of your competition that they become totally irrelevant. So I want to have a look at some real life examples here, and I want you to be thinking about how you could apply this in your business. Now, this is Get Yourself Back in Motion with Jason Smith. This was a large franchise in Australia, the largest of its type, physiotherapy in Australia. But look at what he's done on the front of his cover there. He's actually gone and put the industry logo. So he's got the association has approved that. And by putting the logo on the front, that's built him extra credibility by association. It's saying that the association is approving of his book. But you might want to use that for advertising. You could do the same thing yourself, or you might approach an advertiser. If they're prepared to pay $10,000 to $15,000 to advertise in the back of your book, imagine what they'd be prepared to pay to advertise on the front. But Jason took it one step further. See, he had franchises and he wanted to build them all up because he understood the game behind the game and had an exit strategy, and it required him selling more franchises at a higher cost. So he took each of the individual franchisees and he was able to position them on the front of the book with their name under his, which made them look like a co-author. And then they were able to use that in their local markets to build their credibility and build the brand. Highly successful model. You could do the same. I want to talk about Karina Francois because she was an amazing example. She was a naturopath and had a traditional bricks and mortar type business, which was struggling. It wasn't going anywhere. She needed to improve her business. Well, how do you improve your business? By positioning yourself as the expert and building trust and credibility. How do you do that? By having a book. So she came up with Clean Food, Clear Thinking, Change Your Body, Change Your Mind. And that's led on to all sorts of things. It's now positioned her as the expert. And once that's in the minds of the media, they're approaching her at every stage and they've given her free exposure and building her brand in a big way. And she hasn't had to create any extra content. They've interviewed her and then she's taken extracts of the book to use in these magazines. As a result of all this, she was then perceived as the expert and asked to write for a particular magazine. So she became a regular writer, again, only having to take particular bits and pieces, extracts out of her book and include those. But imagine what that's done for her brand awareness. This is in real life magazines and online. You can do the same thing. But the next step is beautiful. She didn't have an online business, but now that she's got this attention, she's able to create one. So she actually went and white labeled products. She found someone who was producing herbal teas and she got her brand put on it. And she now sells those around the world. So the book is driving people to her website. And from her website, she's now able to sell products online that she never, ever had before. This is one of my favorite examples, Jo Monroe, the savvy shopaholic, right? What's her expertise? Shopping. Do you know how many times I've said that? And I've had women come up to me afterwards and saying that her expertise is shopping is like saying that my expertise is breathing. You know, we can all do it. Yes, there's nothing really to make her stand out other than she went and wrote a book on it, right? This has led to so much potential for her. She has literally had hundreds of television appearances talking about shopping tips and what the latest fads and stuff like that are. But here's the thing, people perceive her as the expert, she's as a brand ambassador. So an online jewelry manufacturer approached her and said, can we make the Jo Monroe collection? Can we use your name, your brand to sell more jewelry, of which she gets a kickback of? How many of you would love to have a jewelry line named after you? These are the things that all come about from having a book. And the point here is a book can provide so many opportunities that you never saw coming. Jo certainly never saw a jewelry line being named after her coming. So what we need to talk about is most people have a concept of a book as just written information easily disseminated, right? That's the traditional concept of a book. That's how books are thought of, but it's only just the very tip of the iceberg. If you know what you're doing, if you do it properly, you use a book as a marketing tool, it will develop your personal branding. It will establish you as the authority or the expert. It will produce incredible amount of content that you can use for all sorts of marketing, online and offline. It will create that list of hot builders for you. It gives you speaking opportunities. I understand not everybody wants them, but if you are the expert, people will be prepared to pay a large sum of money to get you talking from their stage. It gives you so much free press and media coverage, and it starts to build on itself. It's one of those fascinating concepts that we can talk about all day. I'll cover it a bit more later on. Joint ventures. You'll be amazed the amount of people who will now start to approach you because your brand has value. What you have value. They will be able to put no money down deals for you just so that they can leverage off your brand. It builds confidence, not just in you. One of the things people don't understand is writing a book is actually a self-development exercise. You will be a much better person for it, and you will have grown so much as a result. So that builds confidence. But it's also building confidence in your customer. That barrier of trust has been eliminated. They have confidence in you. They buy more off you. You become more successful, which makes you more confident. The more confident you become, the more you attract in your life, and it becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. It opens doors, opportunities you never saw coming, like you just saw with Joe Munro. It leverages your time more than anything else I've ever come across in my life, and it builds wealth. Regardless of what subject you decide to write about, what your book will get you that many people don't realize is access to other influencers and ideal clients. It is the perfect way to share your message, build your brand, support a charity, or make a massive difference to many others, all whilst creating your own legacy. You may not be immortal, but your words can be, because the book can live on long after you. So how you should be using your book is as your billboard business card. You should be handing this out to everyone, because it's the best lead generation tool, both online and offline. It will open and unlock doors that you can't access. It will attract your perfect customer, increase your sales and prices, get free media and PR, position you as the expert, and make you the market leader if it's all done correctly. And this is the big point. This is what we need to talk about now, because people have this perception out there that it's with traditional publishing, you go and write a manuscript, you hand it to the publisher who's just so grateful to receive it from you. They produce the book exactly the way you want it. They send it to the distributors who get it to the bookstores, and it's sold both through traditional bricks and mortar stores and online, and the customer's happy and they come back and buy all this stuff off you. Isn't that lovely? Well, it would be if that was the reality, but it's not. See, the simple fact is, under traditional publishers, they're reluctant to take on new authors because they see that as a risk. There is expense in producing books, and they don't want to take that on. They have all the say in your design. And this is where it gets really interesting. You don't have any say over how it looks, even the cover design. You don't have any say in the price. You don't have any say over any of it. Once you've signed a deal with them, they own it, and they probably own the rights for future books as well. It can be quite a horrific experience. Some people have very bad experiences dealing with traditional publishers. You cannot advertise or market in your book. So if you've already sold advertising in your book to other people, and the book comes out without it in there, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble. You cannot do it. If you want to sell your own book on stage or from your own gigs or whatever else you're doing online, you have to purchase your own book back from them at 50% off retail. It takes 12 to 18 months to bring your book to market, and you only get paid 3 to 5% of the cover price of the book. Now, on a $30 book, you'd be getting 50 cents to $1.50, but I can tell you now, for a 150-page book, they aren't going to charge anywhere near that. You'd be somewhere between $15 and $20, so you're only getting 3 to 5% of that. Now, why do people put up with all that? Because at least the publisher will handle the distribution and bookstore orders and sales. And that's great. That's what people want and need. But because of all those hassles are so big, and because traditional publishers turn down far more manuscripts than they take on, people went to self-publishing. Now, of course, you make a lot more money through self-publishing. Take away the cost of the book from what you sold it for, and that profit's all yours. More flexibility to sell your books into other markets. You can sell them online. You can sell them from stage. You don't have those same restrictions. You get to the printers or get it from the printers a lot sooner, with 16 weeks versus 18 months. You keep control of your work and designs. You can have the cover look exactly the way you want. The internals look the way you want. You can do all the advertising you want in there. Advertise and market in your own book. You can, but here, there are pitfalls associated with that. It's not all rosy. Otherwise, everyone would be self-publishing. And what you need to understand is there are really severe limitations to self-publishing, and there are legal requirements that actually need to be made with the production of a book. And a lot of that, you've got to design, proofread, lay and print your book to international publishing standards. You've got to arrange the barcodes, ISBN numbers. You have to register with the national libraries and lodge a sample book. Remember, you can't just go online and find out how to do all this stuff. Traditional publishers don't make this stuff easily accessible. Why would a traditional publisher want to make it easy for self-publishers? It just doesn't happen. You've got to request international library cataloguing numbers. You have to hold and warehouse all your stock. You have to package, ship, and deliver it to your resellers weekly, and you have to find a book distributor. Now, this is where it gets messy because book distributors won't deal with self-publishers. So you then want to find bookstores to buy your books. And don't get me wrong, there are some locally. Some bookstores will like to support local authors. So in your immediate area, that bookstore or a couple of bookstores may cover your books. But that's about it, because you really need a distributor. And as I said, distributors won't deal with you unless you're a publisher. Bookstores won't deal with individual authors. Otherwise, they'd have 1,000 different authors all coming to them trying to sell their wares. That's why they go through just one or two distributors. That's why bookstores only deal with distributors or major publishers. Book buyers don't like self-published books. Some people consider that a bit snobbish. They've said to me, well, look, here's my book and here's an identical type book right from the store. There's no difference. Actually, there is. There is plenty of difference, and it's very obvious to everyone in the industry, especially the distributors and the bookstores who are the people trying to carry your book. So there's been a lot of problems associated with that. So thankfully, for people like us, people in business, the marketers amongst us, there is an entrepreneurial publisher. We started this 15 years ago, actually just over 15 years now. And what that is you're taking the very best of traditional publishing, but without any of the hassles, the very best of self-publishing without the hassles, and combine those together, which allows people to get the marketing tool they need their book to be, and most importantly of all, with a distribution channel. Now, there are people out there who claim that they can do these sort of things. They don't have the marketing background, but they claim that they can distribute to over 20,000 channels. Well, that's great, but they're all online. Global Publishing Group distributes to over 50,000 outlets, nationally and internationally, and that includes all major bookstores. This is the way to make it easy and far more profitable for any author. And look, we've been doing it right for a long time. We've helped thousands of authors. We have produced literally hundreds and hundreds of their books. We have produced the highest number of best-selling authors as a percentage of authors we've published. We've done this for a long time. We've literally generated tons of free media for people. That's magazines, newspapers, as well as stuff online, news, TV and radio, etc. as well. So we know what we're doing. So the point is, for you and your business, how would it feel? What would you think? What would it do for you walking into a bookstore and seeing your book on the bookshelf? What would that do for you? What would it do, more importantly, for your business? And how would that make you feel? And I use this example because I mentioned Conrad Bobolak with the real estate book before, paying himself $1 million a year. Here he is with his awards for being a best-selling author and his AMG Mercedes, which he can only afford because of what the book's given him. And as he said, he took his wife and his young daughter to the shopping centre one day, ordered a coffee, and the daughter ran off into the bookstore and came out all excited. Daddy, 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 your book's in there. And he went inside and he found his book. Look at it, positioned between Tony Robbins and Warren Buffett and directly above Robert Kiyosaki. How excited do you reckon he was? He couldn't wait to send us that photo. So these are the things that come from being a published author. All right, so how do you do it? Well, the easiest way is to attend our How to Write a Bestseller and Grow Your Brand 3-day workshop. And it is a workshop. It's not a pitch fest. I don't have a whole lot of people there trying to sell a whole lot of things to you. It's not a talk fest. It's not me going on for 3 days. It is me giving a lot of incredible content, explaining far more than I've been able to just recently, giving a lot of examples, but working with you. It's an actual workshop. So even if, like Conrad, if you didn't have a business idea, if you don't have a book idea, you come to the workshop. That first day we work on the mindset and help you develop the idea. And then we actually workshop it in small groups and individually one-on-one with me and my team and help you come up with the title, the subtitle, the design of the cover, back, front and back, which is actually a whole marketing tool in itself, and the skeleton, which you then just need. That's the hardest part of your book done. You just need to flesh it out using the techniques we've described here. Now, seats are strictly limited, and that's not a marketing ploy. It's because we have to work one-on-one with people. We do this in small groups, okay? We do not have a big room, and seats are strictly limited. Once we hit the limit, we just cut it off, and we already have people who couldn't make it to the last course wanting to come to the March course. 24th to 26th of March at the Brisbane Airport Convention Centre. Today, we are rewarding action takers. So general entry tickets for this are $97, which is phenomenal value for 3 days. Gold tickets are $297 and include the full workbook. There's a 130-page workbook you will actually get with this. I don't know if you could see all that. It's got everything inside it you're ever going to need. You get to take that away with you. And there's over $1,500 in bonuses. Now, we've had people in the industry check this out. They came along to the course, they got the bonuses, and I said to them, do you really think it was worthwhile? They said, yep, you've over-delivered. It's phenomenal value, $297. What we're doing for people on this webinar, you can claim a gold ticket for the general entry price. So what that means is you get a gold ticket, a 130-page workbook, and over $1,500 in bonuses, not for $297, but for $97. And there is the link to do it. Now, this is for this webinar only. I'll get Nick to let us know. I guess that's only till the end of the week, Nick, but I'll let you decide. Hopefully you guys can put that URL into the chat box for me, please. People, these are the genuine prices. When you click on that link, you'll see that they're available. If you decide to come at a later stage, you can. I'd encourage you to pay the $297, but that's what it's going to cost you if you don't use this link and do that in this time. A lot of people's concern is, of course, that first and foremost, what guarantee is there? There's 100% satisfaction money back guarantee. If this isn't everything I promise it to be, we will refund your money, no questions asked. And to this day, we've never had anyone take us up on that because we will definitely over deliver at this event. The other problem is, well, it's all the way in March. How do I know what I'm doing in March? This is the thing you need to be doing. If you are serious about growing your business, if you're serious about taking your business to the next level, if you want exponential growth in your business, or if you want to start a business you haven't yet done, you need to be at this event. So if you want to know what you're doing over March 24th to 26th, I'll tell you, you're going to be at the exhibition, the Brisbane Airport Convention Centre doing this, incredible weekend. Now, normally at this stage, we'd run some sort of video showing all the testimonials, but we've got the very lovely May Rose on here and, of course, the incredible Nick Cree. Both of them have been to this event, so I'll throw it to either one of them. But, Nick, I think you've got your audio going. You've done the event. What did you think of the 3-day event? Is it worth that money?
Well, I have to say, Andrew, it was a workshop. So I did get in there and do some work, and it was actually more than I expected it to be. But I ended up coming away from it with a solid concept as to what my book is. And in fact, I am writing a book now. As a result of it, I was just going to check it out, but I ended up sort of writing a book. So we're in the throes of that. That's my Christmas all taken up, getting this book out. And what I discovered with it was that the book there, it was the missing piece in my puzzle for the business next year. So everyone here, you will see our book being published next year, or my book being published next year. So you'll see the results of it. So I'd highly recommend it. If anyone want to go and check it out and actually just go along to find out, you'll get a heap of ideas anyway, regardless of whether you write a book or not. But yeah, well worth attending that day.
All right, well, that's me done, mate. So if someone can put that link into the chat box, and then I'll let me stop sharing, and I will take any questions. We can punch through those, and might be easy for you to do it. If you
Excellent. We've got the link in the chat box now. Thank you, Jane, for putting it in after I misspelt it there. So it is there. Yeah. Go for the second link there that is in there. My one wasn't working. There we go. So we do have a couple of questions there. Kate is asking, do you have a script or book that you can use to talk to a potential sponsors and advertisers?
Yes is the general answer. A bit more detail, but we do have all of those tools available. Yep. All
right, excellent.
Let's look at this one. I've written a book, The A to Z of tea leaf reading. I like the idea. It's a workshop. Okay. Yeah, I love the idea. Happy to talk to you, Kate, about that at some stage if you want. Won't take up the time now. There's a lot to be on that, but I'd be interested to know you've self-published what the results of that. I'd be very interested to talk to you. So I will get, if you want to contact Nick, he can give you at my email and we can have a more talk about that. I could talk to you then about the script for potential sponsors and advertisers. No, you can't follow it virtually, Will. This is the common question that comes up. I'm glad you brought it up. I should have addressed it earlier. Mate, because it is a unique workshop, because it's an interactive workshop, and because I need to give a lot of information, and then we need to break people up into exercises and then into group strategy and then one-on-one, and our team have to go around and work with people. And believe a lot, movement and body language is a big part of it and how we relate to what's going on and what people need. So, yep, look, since COVID, obviously everyone wants to do everything virtually. We haven't found a way that this workshop could work in that time frame and produce the results you need. As I say, Nick's been there. Nick, do you think you could have done that same as effectively virtually?
Not at all, because it really is a workshop and you're spending time working with other people, and part of the value of it is the ideas and the bouncing of ideas back with other people.
Yep. Is there an offer for someone resitting the event? Yep, that $97 offer, get the gold ticket. That's as good as it gets. That's, as I say, we're really rewarding action takers, and we are already filling that room. We only run these courses a couple of times a year, and the people who couldn't make it to the last course have already pre-booked for the course ahead. So as I say, Nick's asked me to do that. In fact, I believe Nick's going to be offering a free ticket as well as part of you all being here. So you may be able to get in on that. But seriously, the $97 for the $297 gold ticket is a really good deal.
Excellent.
So, Kate's coming. Good on you, Kate. Looking forward to seeing you there. And I'm glad everyone's enjoyed it. Any other questions at all? Anything I can help you with?
Let me just check on Facebook as well. Someone's asked, am I going to this workshop? Yes, I will be there as well.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
That was from Daryl in Facebook. So, yeah.
Good on you, Daryl.
All right. Now, we do have, if there are any other questions there, or if anyone wants to get hold of you, Andrew, what's the best way for people to do that?
admin@globalpublishinggroup.com.au is the easiest way to reach me.
Excellent. And now we do have a door prize tonight as well, too. And that, in fact, is one of those tickets, isn't it?
It is indeed. We'll give away one of those $297 gold tickets, the free book, the workbook, and the $1,500 bonuses, and attend the full 3-day event all for free.
Fantastic. So we do have a special way of drawing this as ever. We have our wheel of names up there. Everybody's name is in that wheel of names. Actually, before I say that, before I draw that, I should say too, Andrew, that Ian Marsh, the photographer for Ian Marsh on that book cover, is in the room.
Is that right? Who was that?
Who is that? Would that person like to pipe up and tell us who it was?
Sure, that was me. I actually did a PR campaign for him as well when he put the book out. So it's small world.
Unbelievable. There you go. Yeah, a fantastic photo. Actually, he's not the most photogenic individual, so you've done incredibly well. And he wouldn't mind me saying that, I'm sure. Lovely guy, amazing man, and he's helped us in the past. He's been very, very good. But yeah, his success has been incredible. Fantastic photo. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a whole lot of others as well on his property with his horses and dog and family and by the lake, etc. So yeah, it was a great spot.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
There you go. So we've got media royalty in here as well too. Someone that actually makes people look good. Actually, Aldrin's made me look good in photos before as well too. So some of my best shots.
Don't lie, Nick. No one can make you look that good.
Yeah.
No, I've actually seen you posing for the camera, mate. You are quite a natural. I'm very, very impressed by your photogenesis.
Oh, that was obviously some direction from Aldrin way back when.
Yeah.
All right, we do have in the our virtual wheel everybody's name in for the draw. So who would like to win this ticket to the workshop? Oh, I see Kate's hands going up there. Fantastic. Excellent. All right, well, let's draw this. Get your intentions right. And we'll have a virtual drum roll, please. Oh, Selena wants this as well, too. And the lucky winner is she here? May O'Connell. Are you here, May?
I am, Nick, and that's not fair because I think you should reel it again because I'm already I'm
May
already doing
Rose
the
is
program.
the very lovely May Rose has been, and she's welcome to come. I would certainly welcome
Yeah.
May Rose back if she wants to come for free next time. So if you would like to redraw it, that's very
Yeah,
generous of you,
absolutely.
May Rose. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. That's incredibly generous of you. So thank you for that. All right, let's spin the wheel for the second time. This is the second chance. And the lucky winner this time is Selena Budgeon.
Well done, Selena.
I could see coming out of Selena's head there, me. So it worked. The intention was there.
Nick, whilst we're on the topic, I'll just mention May Rose is a remarkable individual. You've got to get her on a podcast at one stage just to find out some more about her. But she is in the process of doing her book, Successful Seniors, at the moment. Once that is published, mate, seriously, you want her on to promote her on the podcast. She would be fascinating to your listeners. You'll be absolutely amazed by this woman and the book she's creating.
Well,
Oh,
thanks, Andrew.
fantastic.
I'd love to, Nick. It'd be fabulous fun.
Excellent. Well, let's chat for next year. We're full for this year, but let's chat for next year, and maybe when you've in time for publishing or whatever. So that'd be great.
Look forward to it, Nick. Thanks a lot.
Excellent. Thanks,
Andrew.
mate. And Selena, we will hook you up with Andrew by email. So we'll shoot an email both ways so that you're introduced to each other and you can organise the tickets and that sort of thing there. Once again, thank you, Andrew, for coming on and sharing with us tonight. I hope everyone got something valuable out of that. And yeah, I would really encourage you to go along to that weekend next year. I found it incredibly valuable, and I'm sure you will as well too. So if you enjoyed this tonight, and you want to watch it again, then the replay will be up on YouTube tomorrow on the Smash Go YouTube channel. It'll be there tomorrow afternoon. If you're not a subscriber to it yet, if you go there and subscribe, then click that little bell. As soon as it's uploaded, you'll get a notification to let you know that it's there. Feel free to share it out to anybody else if you think someone else would benefit from it, or feel free to watch it again. I had something else in my mind, but it has just totally left me now. It must be getting late on a Tuesday night. So that just leaves me to say thank you, everyone, for turning up tonight. Thanks, Andrew, for sharing all of your wisdom with us tonight. And look forward to seeing everybody back here, same time, same channel next week. So go and have a good evening.